Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Thank you for coming to our independent assembly. We have a few things to do today. We have a couple things in our we want to proceed with. First, we will have a little input from the BDS campaign, from a person from our campaign. Then we will have the FSE from the Anthropology Institute speak about the fact that we weren't allowed to have a general assembly to democratically vote. We weren't allowed to have a general assembly, and the FSE isn't happy about that, obviously. We aren't either. Also, the wissenschaftliche Mitarbeiterin will speak, and then we will have a technical input about how this university is complicit in genocide and ethnic cleansing. And then we will open the floor for a discussion to strategize and talk about how we can actually push for this general assembly and have an official document that says anthropology students are for an academic boycott. And to push for that, we have to talk about it, we have to strategize, we have to discuss how can we get there together. And thank you very much for coming today. And I will clear the space for our first speaker. Thank you.
We are gathered here today autonomously because we were denied the right to democratic participation at the... Okay. Yes? Okay.
Einfach das Mikrofon richtig nah an deinen Mund halten.
Okay, ich fange nochmal an. We are gathered here today. Is better?
Yeah.
Okay. Autonomously because we were denied the right to democratic participation at the Vollversammlung by the Institute of Anthropology. How did it come to this? Since the winter semester of 2025, over 100 anthropology students have decided that they do not want the institute to have ties to Israeli universities complicit in genocide, apartheid and occupation. They have pledged to support others who vote in favor of an institutional academic boycott and to advocate for a university-wide academic boycott. As anthropology students, we learn about positionality, about violence in the production of knowledge, and academia that silences the oppressed. We learn about the fact that anthropology is a product of colonialism and has offered itself as an instrument of it, complicit in heinous crimes. We read Frantz Fanon, Lisa Abou-Lughod, Edward Said, and Michel Troyo, and yet here we stand because a reading list does not mean a thing. It does not mean a thing when students are silenced. It does not mean a thing when there is silence about a live-streamed genocide. We do not need another lecture about decoloniality when the call to not be complicit with settler colonialism is rejected. Last week, together with the student representation, we brought an academic boycott resolution to a vote at the Institutsrat. In that council meeting, only 3 people could vote, 2 professors and 1 staff member. The staff member supported our motion. Thank you for that. The professors Claudia Liebelt and Hans-Jörg Dilger voted against it. It was agreed upon an Institute General Assembly. Then, on Monday afternoon, without warning, the Institute's management, in coordination with the university, called the General Assembly on cancelled the General Assembly on completely illegitimate grounds.
Shame!
The management claimed that publishing the names of the 2 professors made it impossible to continue a respectful and trusting discussion. We, however, we see this as a pretense to not engage with student demands, to cut us out of how decisions are made at the Institute. And that is why we are here. We reject the Zionist stand of this university, and we will not be silenced. The moment we lose our fear, we will be free to move forward into a diversity of tactics, including direct action. Today, we invite you to discuss and exchange. We will do an open mic after a word from the student representation and the Vinis, and an input about academic complicity and the motion we had planned to bring to the Vollversammlung, which you are invited to propose changes to. Through this informal assembly, we demand our right to the official General Assembly we were promised. Together, we will fight to bring this resolution to a formal vote that truly represents the student body. Going forward, we will continue to advocate for an academic boycott at every institute of Free University. We will be here in the future and advocate for an academic boycott of a genocidal regime. We call on all of you to join us and organize across every institute of this university. Feel free to speak with our comrades at the info stand for more details. Thanks a lot for coming. Freie Universität, stop your complicity, free Palestine. The students united will never be defeated. The students united will never be defeated. The students united will never be defeated.
The students united will never be defeated. The students united.
Sisters, I see many faces that were not there last week. And as we know, the most important lectures now at the Free University, so-called Free University Berlin, do not take place inside the lecture halls, but here outside on campus. This was made clear by the speakers before me, by the speakers who spoke in front of the Anthropology department last week, and as you will hear also by the speakers that will speak after me. I'm truly honored to talk to you again. My name is Udi. I am a board member of an organization called Jewish Voice for Just Peace in the Middle East. Sisters, first of all, thank you to everybody who took part in organizing this urgent rally here in front of the main building of the so-called Free University Berlin. And thank you, sisters. Thank you to all of you. Thank you for being loud. Thank you for being visible for Gaza, for Palestine, for humanity. We are now almost 3 years into the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Thousands of people already murdered by the IOF. Those who survived so far have been made displaced again and again and again and again, trapped in the largest open-air prison on earth.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Free Palestine! Sisters, and all of this is being done with German money, with German lies, and with German silence. There is a plaque hangs not far away from here, reminding us that not long time ago, German anthropologists provided the scientific legitimation for racial hierarchy, directly enabling colonialism and genocide. Not only did the discipline fail to prevent harm, it produced its intellectual infrastructure. And it is precisely against this light that after 1945, scholars engaged so critically, so seriously, so thoroughly, so deeply in a reflexive process, reshaping this discipline from the core, its theories, its methodologies, and its ethical research principles. It is precisely against this light that after 1945, the German Anthropological Association adopted the principle, the main principle of do no harm. It is precisely against this light that we, sisters, are standing here today to hold those in power position accountable for the harm that they cause, and to tell them enough is enough is enough. Scholars like Sylvia Winter, Franz Fanon, Edward Said, Laila Abu Lokhud, Talal Assad, and so many others forced anthropology to become honest, not only about its racist past, but also about its racist present. So anthropology as a discipline owes them a depth that goes beyond citation and acknowledgement. Anthropology as a discipline owes them the very legitimacy, the very credibility, and the institutional power it claims to have. Anthropology as a discipline owes them and us the commitment to do no harm. And do no harm, sisters, is not a passive principle. It means to actively engage in preventing ongoing violence against apartheid, against forced displacement, against genocide, or zusammengefasst, against Nakba. The act of maintaining institutional ties to those causing harm is not a neutral matter of academic freedom. This is a direct contradiction of the discipline's most fundamental principle to do no harm. Because do no harm means, among other things, cutting off ties with institutions involved in what has been described as the most documented genocide in history. Last week, the question of whether the Institute of Social and Cultural Anthropology here at the so-called Free University Berlin would decide to endorse the BDS guidelines or not functioned for us, for all of us, as a litmus test to the extent to which that institution at this university in general has been denazified. And it is precisely for this reason that I believe that I speak for so many when I say thank you, sisters. Thank you for revealing the true face of those who sit in power positions. Also here at the Free University Berlin. Because being able to see the true face is not just the clarity that we deserve. This is also the clarity that we so urgently need in order to fail better, to strategize better, and to bring an end to this ongoing genocide. And we will bring an end to this ongoing genocide, if not thanks to this institution, if not thanks to this university, then despite it. Sisters, whatever happened, whatever will happen, we will keep on strategizing, not only until the genocide is over, but until all of us are free. In Palestine, in Lebanon, in Kurdistan, in Myanmar, in West Sahara, and we all know exactly how this list goes on and on and on. So sisters, in the meantime, thank you for staying loud, for staying visible, for Gaza, for Palestine, for humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Udi. Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So yeah, let's have the discussion. Let's have the discussion now. Yeah, I'm basically going to explain like what are the breaches like in humanitarian international law that like are being sustained by maintaining relations with Israeli institutions, which will also lead to explain why the motion is written as it is. You can, by the way, take the motion. It's here in the corner. We have papers with the motion that we prepared. We actually softened, let's say, the motion. Like the pledge of the 100 students said, like to cut ties, and we adapted it. Like, and I will explain why. But it's actually softer, let's say, than the cutting ties. It says like suspension of ties until certain conditions are met. Thing is, like, this is not new. This is not new. The first like resolution came from the American Anthropological Association, and it's a boycott resolution. I will just quote selected paragraph. The American Anthropological Association took a stance in July of 2023, so before like the genocide like starting 7th of October. And I will just take one paragraph here to say like this is not only about like occupation and genocide, this is also about the deterioration and the undermining of like anthropology as a discipline. They say, I quote, anthropological frameworks and methods, ethnographic and archaeological, are actively used by the Israeli state to further its system of apartheid and ethnic cleansing. This was in July of 2023. This is one of the resolutions. I think the most important one, they sent a mission to Israel, Palestine to do like a fact-finding mission. Like they interviewed people. Like they did like a very serious, like long-standing work for getting into this. So like it is like I think the most important one. They quote two cases that I will refer like in a minute, but then I will move to the European Association of Social Anthropology, of which like perhaps some of the people that participating in the meeting like last week are members of. Like I honestly don't know. I will quote two paragraphs from this resolution, which also says like to cut ties. It's also a boycott resolution. It says. The EASA does not collaborate with Israeli academic institutions until Israel complies with international law and international humanitarian law and ends the occupation of the occupied Palestinian territory. That's one. And then in the resolutive part at the end, it says that the EASA encourages EASA members not to enter into institutional arrangements, like for example, through common research projects and grants, with Israeli academic institutions. So I don't know if someone voted against like a pledge to like suspend ties with Israel. I don't know. I will just leave it there. Then we have the German Association for Social and Cultural Anthropology. This resolution came in April 2026. I will read this in German, so I apologize for my bad German. So I will just read a quote because it was said in the statement that like apparently like this resolution that not says that like we can like cut ties with Israeli institutions. So it says here in German: In konkreten Fällen kann eine solche Bewertung die Entscheidung stützen, institutionelle Zusammenarbeit auszusetzen, wenn ein glaubwürdiges Risiko besteht, dass die Fortsetzung der Zusammenarbeit zu Verstößen gegen das Völkerrecht beiträgt oder diese symbolisch legitimiert. In diesem Sinne kann eine Aussetzung von Kooperation als bedingte, präventive und reversible Schutzmaßnahme für wissenschaftliche Integrität, ethische Verantwortung und Solidarität mit von Gewalt und Unterdrückung betroffenen Wissenschaftlern dienen. I think it's very clear, I mean for the ones that understand German, I think it's very clear what it says. It is possible and it can even be preventive. So like we don't even have to prove, like we are going more than it's required from us to proving that there are like breaches in international law. I will now talk about some of these breaches.
Invite you all to come work with us together. So I'm reading the motion for the suspension of cooperations with Israeli universities and academic institutions. The state of Israel violates international law by denying Palestinian refugees their right to return and by illegally occupying the Palestinian territory, including West Bank, East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip, and the Syrian Golan Heights. Following October 7, 2023, Israel has systematically destroyed the conditions necessary for life in Gaza, constituting the genocide as defined in Article 2 of the Convention of the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. The resolution of 23rd of April 2026 of the DGSK, Resolution zur internationalen wissenschaftlichen Zusammenarbeit im Kontext systematischer Verstöße gegen das Völkerrecht, recommends to critically review institutional cooperations with Israeli institutions. In this context, critical review refers to a structured and reflective process through which the DGSK members assess the legal, ethical, and institutional implications of continued cooperation with the academic institutions in Israel and Palestine. As it has been thoroughly documented and also recognized by the DGSK Resolution number 5, Israeli cultural and academic institutions infringe international and humanitarian law, at least in the following forms. As apartheid institutions, they systematically discriminate against Palestinians. They contribute to the cultural erasure of Palestinians, especially in anthropology and archaeology. Participate and support the illegal appropriation of land and cultural goods of Palestinians. And they serve as places to develop military and policing technologies used against Palestinians and trained to assist Israeli military and intelligence personnel that commits war crimes and crimes against humanity. As detailed in the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions report of Freie Universität Berlin in January 2025, humanitarian law, Freie Universität also breaches international and humanitarian law by maintaining connections with Israeli academic and cultural institutions. Among these are the strategic partnership with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, the specially allocated research and course funds for the same institutions, the exchange programs, joint research project with Israeli institutions, and the German-Israel Virtual Campus. In light of the above, and following the call made by the Palestinian civil society organizations in 2005, we resolve to suspend, to the extent legally possible, all institutional cooperation of the Institute of Social and Cultural Anthropology of Freie Universität Berlin and with Israeli universities and academic institutions. The suspension will follow the recommendations in the annex and will continue until the institutions fulfill the conditions established by the call of 2005 of the Palestinian civil society to publicly recognize the inalienable right of the Palestinian people enshrined in law. These include the end of the occupation of all Arab lands and the dismantling of the apartheid wall. Full equality for Arab Palestinian citizens in Israel. Respect, protection, and promotion of the rights of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes and properties as stipulated by the UN Resolution of 194. To end all forms of complicity in violating Palestinian rights, including including discriminatory practices, justifying Israel's violations of international law and Palestinian human rights, contributing materially and ideologically to the crimes of apartheid and genocide committed against the Palestinian people, to call all members of the Institute of Social and Cultural Anthropology of Freie Universität Berlin to not individually participate in any institutional corporations, nor to enter to any institutional agreements unless the individual institution fulfills the already mentioned conditions of the Palestinian Civil Society Organization of 2005. And we're coming to an important point. The suspension will be applied to Israeli institutions, not individuals. Mere affiliation of Israeli scholars to an Israeli academic institution is therefore not grounds for applying the suspension. If, however, an individual is representing the state of Israel or a complicit Israeli institution, such as a dean, rector, or president, or is commissioned or recruited to participate in Israel's efforts to rebrand itself, then her or his activities are also subject to suspension. This is the resolution. And we're asking for the fucking bare minimum here. Own up to the decolonial principles you teach.
I just want to make a short clarification. So there's this annex of recommendations. It's very long and kind of boring to read, but I will just say the following. We took the guidelines that the FU used to sanction Russia. We Control F, erase Russia, put Israeli, and that's it. Yeah. Took 5 minutes. Took 5 minutes, and they are saying they can't do it because it's too complicated. Yeah. Thank you.
Me? Yes. Okay, great. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for all of you that showed up. I think it's really, really amazing to see so many people here. And I also wanted to state at the very beginning that I think that we can really see right now how pressure works in a good way, in the sense of that we, not only as students, but also by contacting staff members in solidarity, and also me, myself, I work also at the Anthropology Institute as a I don't know, student, whatever, something. And we also organize, talk to other staff members, etc. And I think the fact that staff members showed up here and that we are so many people is a result of this pressure that we put upon the Institute and the Institute leadership. And I think this is already a huge success. But I also think this is just the very beginning of it all, of a broader campaign, not only at the Anthropology Institute, but at all institutes of this university and the entire university in itself. I wanted to point out again that we find it particularly troubling that students have to resort to a publicly registered assembly to facilitate a discussion that was originally intended to take place within the department. And I think that results in is that students are being exposed to a situation that could have been avoided and could also be potentially very dangerous. Like, let's not forget that how much repression we faced at this university. Let's not forget how many broken bones and concussions happened to us exactly in this place where we're standing right now, when police beat us all the way from Theaterhof to here due to the university leadership calling the police on us. Like, what the actual fuck?
Shame! Shame!
And I think it's really, really important to not see this development as an isolated incident, but also as a part of a broader context of increasing restrictions on democratic spaces for negotiations at universities, and a social climate in which critical protest is increasingly delegitimized or portrayed as a threat. And I think also seeing this in the broader context of the rise of right-wing politics, authoritarianism, and militarization. And yeah, I think this is exactly like what we have warned about already when the genocide started, that that we will see a decrease in open spaces, that we will see how universities are, or the space for critical conversations, for criticism in general, will get smaller and smaller and smaller, and that the Palestine Solidarity Movement is a testing field, but it will move to other movements as well, and I think this is why it is particularly important that we are standing here today. I wanted to point out one last thing. I think I'm not sure if it was already mentioned, but in this month, in the month of June, I think, the Anthropology Institute is celebrating 75 years anniversary of the making of the institute, and I think, especially in this context, I think Udi gave an amazing speech, also pointing out why this is so absurd, and in what tradition we want to stand as anthropologists, but also like how the university, the anthropology leadership of the institute is acting. And I think it's really important to mention that universities are not merely occasions of self-celebration, but of critical reflection of one's own history and responsibility. I think anthropology has repeatedly grappled with its entanglement in colonialism, racism, and the legitimization of violence. It is precisely this history that imposes upon us the obligation that especially lecturers and professors should communicate their stances transparently and also open them up to debate. Only in this way, I think, in our view, is it possible to live up to our claim of constant self-reflection and the questioning of our own positionalities. And I think in this context it is so obscure that the main reason that was named in a public statement by the Institute leadership is that we publish their names. Like, if you have a stance where you literally say, no, I'm against cutting ties with Israeli institutions that are complicit in genocide, then yeah, we're gonna call you fucking, like, what the fuck? Like, why are you mad about this? So I think in that sense, yeah, let's take the space and take this discussion to also think about what our next steps should be, to also think about like how can we keep the pressure ongoing, but also think about how can we like broaden this initiative to other institutes as well. I think the demand should also include like full transparency of any of these things that are right now ongoing behind closed doors, and of decision making in general on institutional but also university level. And I think for that I also want to put in the room or into the space that next week, yeah, on Tuesday there is the Sitzung of the student parliament. And I think, because, okay, I'm also part of Waffen der Kritik, and we are part of the student parliament, and we want to bring in a resolution that was primarily from BDS, but yeah, about general academic like boycott on university level. But I think we should connect this with the demand of a general Vollversammlung like they already did in Leipzig. And I think we should follow up with this and mobilize at all institutes and all levels for a general Vollversammlung to cut ties with Israeli institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caro. Does anyone...
So we are here today because we are sharing your frustration in how things went down this week the lack of communication and the lack of open space for discussion. So we came here to stand in solidarity with you and to support calls for an open discussion among all members of the Institute.
Thank you.
So in that sense, also a big thank you from us for organizing this and to making this happen. And we're looking forward to continuing the discussion here and otherwise. Thank you.